Welcome, William, to this interview. I'm glad you accepted to be part of this experience. My name is Yetmir Troshani, and together with Garnit Husseini, a few months ago, we came up with the concept to bring all wildlife photographers around Europe in one platform to share and exchange knowledge. We are two passionate hobbyists who love wildlife photography, both Albanians. I come from the city of Shkodra in Albania, and Garnit comes from the city of Peja in Kosovo. In few words, Wild Europe aims at collaborating with intermediate and advanced wildlife photographers as a way to connect emotionally with people through our artistic vision, definitely in hopes to increase wildlife conservation awareness. Ultimately, throughout these interviews, we want all members to learn and discover from wildlife photographers with experience such as William, and many more to come. Without further ado, we'd like to dive into the interview and start talking about photographing birds in flight. This interview will be recorded, so everyone will have the chance to see it later. William, once again, welcome aboard.
Thank you.
We have allocated 30 minutes plus or minus for this interview, so please take it away by perhaps starting with who is William Dickson and how did you get into wildlife photography?
Hi there, my name is William Dickson. I am from Fife in Scotland, Bonnie, Scotland, and I have been into wildlife for maybe since I was a kid at school. Always loved the wildlife. And my first camera was a Polaroid. Then I had to wait to get the chemist to get the film back. So when digital came out, I thought it was fantastic. So I put my two hobbies together, wildlife and photography, and became a wildlife photographer, especially birds.
Sounds awesome. Now, in regards to photographing birds in flight, while I understand this is a large topic, what would you share with us that you believe it's most important in this topic?
Well, the most important thing for birds in flight is to have a very high shutter speed. I would go minimum 1/2000th of a second, minimum. If the light doesn't give you the ability to go to that shutter speed, depending on what camera you use, but most professional cameras nowadays, you can use a high ISO to gain the shutter speed. If you're using an f4 lens, leave it at f4. I was photographing ospreys a couple of months back at f4, ISO 3200, just to get a shutter speed of 1/1600 because of the mist. But at f4, the whole bird was in focus. And that was only about 100 yards away. So it's a big subject. It is a big subject. For anyone who's starting up on birds in flight, I would try slow moving birds like herons, egrets, or common birds like gulls. Just throw some bread into the water, get your settings, get everything correct, and just go for it. Best thing to use in a Canon camera, I use servo mode. I think you all know what that is. Yeah?
Yeah.
Continuous shooting mode in your camera. And I use single point focus and aim for the eye of the bird. I believe these new mirrorless cameras that are coming out, this is all built in automatically now. They actually go for the eye of the animal or the bird and lock on. So for bird and flight photographers, this is going to be an awesome focusing system. Yeah, that's about it. And you find out where the birds are. Look at them every day. Find the flight paths. How close can you get? Look at the background. It's just like take a photograph of a bird on a perch, but obviously you still want a nice background. For example, it doesn't matter which kind of bird it is. Here's the thing, I'll share this one just now. Let's see if I can share this. Is that share? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Right, for example, in this flight shot, the background is just white, which is quite boring actually, but as the bird is white and it's carrying nesting material, it makes a big difference to the shot. It's not a boring bird flying through the sky. You get, if you can add something to the shot, it makes a difference. Any questions so far?
It's a beautiful shot, by the way. Very nice shot. And I see that there the lighting wasn't quite there, but you still managed to have a perfect shot nevertheless.
Yeah, she still got the detail. That was at 1/2000th of a second shutter speed.
Mm-hmm.
That was f5.6.
Mm-hmm.
And all manual?
I had, yeah, always use manual. It's, if you're shooting manual, you expose for the bird. Now, if I'm exposing for that bird there, it's up just now, the gannet.
Mm-hmm.
My exposure settings would just be above. It's called exposed to the right, slightly to the right, without blowing the whites, which is very difficult. But if you can expose slightly to the right, so you're slightly overexposing,
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to noise reduction and processing, it'll be 10 times easier.
Okay.
You get yeah, that's a big thing. You expose to the right, just slightly to the right, and when you're processing, you don't really need to denoise anything up to 1600 ISO. I never applied any to that, and that was at ISO 800.
Okay.
So the ultimate thing that you want is obviously a clean image. You know, I mean, you can be the best photographer in the world, but when it comes to processing, you want a clean image. You want it to be artistic. You want the bird to be telling a story.
I have another question with respect to how much gear and post-processing play a role to this type of photography in your opinion? And would you briefly talk about your workflow?
Yeah, sure. I use a Canon 1DX Mark II at the moment. I've also got a Canon 1DX Mark I, which was my backup camera. And I find this camera, there are better cameras for more pixels, but this camera for me is the ultimate wildlife camera. It's weatherproof, everything. You can throw it about basically, which I have done, and it's still come out whole. So my lens, you want to go, I used to have a 500mm lens, which I sold, and I got a smaller, it's a 400mm. It's the DO version of the Canon, the Mark II version. And I can use a 2x converter, which has given me 800mm, easy to hold. You know, you don't want to be swinging about all day with a big 500 on, because soon you're going to get, and it's not going to be, and I would forget trying to use a tripod, unless it's the same birds passing the same place, yeah, maybe sitting a hide, you can use a tripod. But I always go handheld for flight.
Can I ask you a question about the extenders? Do you see any loss of
Image quality.
sharpness with respect
No.
to? Okay, awesome. Okay, very good to hear.
It depends again on what type of lens you've got and what converters you're using. I've got the latest converter 2x, which with f4, that's turning my lens into an f8 lens. But the only thing that is a problem is it won't autofocus under it. It's got to be f8. It'll autofocus on f8. So you really need good light when you're using it at an 800mm on that lens. But again, ISO is brilliant. I can shoot up to ISO 4000 and still have clean images. As long as you expose to the right. ETTR.
I'm sure that folks will ask you later when we post the video on YouTube, maybe if you can share some PDFs or maybe some other. It would be so great, because it's one thing to sometimes to hear something on the video. It's another thing to actually read it. So if you have something of the sort to share with us later in the group, I will be very, very thankful, William. And with respect to the post-processing?
Yeah, what I'll do, I'll make a video up actually of me actually doing it.
That would be so nice.
I can also post
great.
that. I can post that later on. You know, you can just sell video me going through the basics.
That would be so nice.
Processing for a bird.
That would be very helpful indeed.
I take it everybody uses Photoshop.
We were speaking with Russell, and there are some other options. Maybe Russell, you want to tell us about?
I've been tinkering with Luminar lately.
Never heard of it.
I haven't used it either. I think I heard it. I haven't used it.
It can install through Lightroom as a add-on or through Photoshop as a plugin. I can't quite figure that out because I'm still running a Windows 7 network.
What did you say it was called, Russell?
Luminar, L-U-M-I-N, like Norman, A-R.
Right,
It's only, full price is $79 and it's all AI based. I have never seen such easy editing in my life.
Sounds good.
It gives you the option for nonsense, like if you want to add the space shuttle in the background or buildings that don't really exist. So this has the ability to take a photograph and turn it into a composition versus a photograph.
Right, I've got you.
But if you stay away from all of the glitz and glam and just look at post-processing, it is fast and phenomenal.
Well, I use Photoshop. I think some of the plugins are okay. But all the tools you really need for bird photography are incorporated in Photoshop. I use a plugin called Topaz Denoise.
Okay.
Denoise, Topaz, it's the best denoise program out there. Again, it's about the same price, I think 40 quid. And it's sliders, so you can see how much noise you're losing or how much you're gaining, and you can adjust it manually and see the before and after, so spot on.
Have you noticed with the denoise that sometimes the background it's broken apart from it? Have you ever noticed this? It's like pixelated. I'm not sure how to describe it.
Posturization.
Okay, that's it.
Yeah, it happens a lot, especially I've noticed in green colours. And I think some people won't see it on their screens, depending on which the resolution of their screen is. But I'm using a 5K iMac, which great, you can see everything, including the posturization. But Topaz Denoise does clean it up to a point, which it makes it nice and good to look at.
Awesome.
Yeah, that was bothering me quite a bit, Jetman.
I wanted to also inform everybody that Russell is based in Canada, and I'm so happy he joined in. He heard about William having his interview, and I'm so happy that we have folks from all over the world being part of this. So thank you, Russell, for joining and actually sharing some tips.
Thank you for having us. I don't have tips to share, but
I think that Luminar is something.
Yeah, I'm going to have a look at that.
I couldn't get it to work as a plugin or as an add-on, so I use it as a standalone platform.
Yeah, I'll have a look at that.
Yeah, definitely. So please, William, if you want to share some images and maybe talk about some composition tips or anything you like now from this point on.
Are you seeing the two turns now?
Yes.
Yes. That was at F4. So I'm getting two birds in focus at F4 because it's quite a hefty crop actually, but there's still the detail there in the feathers, even with a heavy crop. That was at the bare lens, 400mm.
How far are you from the subject here?
Well, not very far. It's a place called Isle of May. It's about 20 minutes from where I stay. It's an island where these terns, it's the biggest migration in the world. These guys,
you mentioned it in the group one time. Yep.
Yeah, they come from Antarctica. And as soon as you got off the boat, they attack you. They're nesting, so they're all over your head, pecking, drawing blood, so you've got to wear a hat. That's how close they are, but they're so fast, they're like swallows, really fast. So you're like this all day. And always shoot, when you're doing how many frames per second do you get on your camera, Jetmat?
How many what?
What's the maximum frames per second?
10 frames per second, 9 frames.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, that's okay. What about you, Russell? Russell? Oh, it's not there.
I hope we haven't.
Yeah, 10's okay. Obviously, the faster the better.
Yep.
Because you don't want to miss that one shot.
Yep. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Can't work that way, yeah.
Beautiful shot. Beautiful shots. I see.
Now,
you have
this
it
is the one I was talking about. This was. I've printed that 3 feet by 2 feet. I've got it hanging up on the wall.
Ah, it's a beautiful shot.
It's actually early morning, just as the sun was rising, but there was still a mist on the top of the water because we were down to about freezing point, and that was in August. That's from a hide.
It looks a bit misty, but that kind of make it a bit dramatic per se. I love it. It's an amazing.
Yeah, I like it as well. It adds atmosphere to the. Yeah. Now that was the F4. I'm getting the whole fish and the whole osprey, and I'm maybe about 100 yards away, 100 meters.
That's awesome. Anything else you would like us to share about with us? Anything like tips and tricks or a composition tip or anything?
As I said before, you start off with your slow flying birds, your herons, egrets, etc., your gulls that are coming, and just keep at it. You've got to keep at it. It's like playing golf, I suppose. The more you do it, the better you'll get. And the better you'll get, then you start to try different things. And it makes it all the more exciting. I like to blur on here. You can leave blur on depending on the shutter speed. I think a bit of wing blur gives the photograph some motion, brings it alive. Anyway, that's that one. Yeah, so as I said, manual mode's the best because, for example, if I'm exposing for the bird, okay, I'm exposing for the bird. Now, if the bird flies from there into the sky, my exposure will still be the same because I'm on manual mode, exposure for the bird. But if you're on AV mode or TV mode, semi-automatic, as soon as that bird goes into the bright sky, your camera is going to think it's going to overexpose.
Yep.
Hear it? Yeah. So in manual mode, you can expose for the bird. And wherever the bird goes, whichever colour it goes in front, how dark or how bright, you still have the bird exposed properly, slightly to the right.
And there's my problem.
It's not easy.
Oh, I've been following you.
Good. As you said, you want your fastest shutter speed, your highest frame rate, your single point focus. Maybe if you want to start off, if you're missing shots, you can get the 4 points around. You can try the 4 or the 9 points around. Yep. I wouldn't go any more than that. And if you can, it's better to use single point. Because if you've got your point on the camera, on the bird, if you've got 4 surround, if the surround may pick up something in the background. But if you're on single point, you won't lose focus. Do you use back button focus?
Yes, sir, all the time.
Yeah, that's the best.
Yeah.
Especially flight, yeah. You know that one, Russell?
I do, but I actually switched on my 7D Mark II so that the the back button focus is the focus instead of just the simple trigger button.
Yeah. That's okay. When you go to a place to shoot birds in flight, you'll see, as I said before, they've got a regular flight path, usually. Give it 2 or 3 feet. And the best way is always have the sun at your back. You don't want a bright sun. A white cloud day is probably best. especially for white birds. You stand at the back, and if you can see it coming towards you from a distance, try and track it. Look on it. Obviously, don't take the photograph. Look on it. Check your exposure on it. Get it set, and just keep following it in. Just follow it in. And as soon as you're close enough to get the photograph, bang, pull the trigger, like a machine gun. And don't release it until you get the photographs.
Sounds right.
Yeah. Yeah, again, the background counts are just the same. A lot of people see a bird in the sky and think it's fantastic, but if you get some background, something going on, you always get that wee bit extra. Any questions?
No. I'm listening.
No questions. I think you covered pretty much all the ground. I think we're. I'm not sure if you like to share anything per se. You are welcome, but as far as the questioning goes, I think it ends the part of the interview on our side. But you are absolutely welcome to share anything else, William, if you see it fit.
Can you see that gold now? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
What about one of the puffins?
Oh, the puffins, right. I'll see if I can find a puffin in flight.
Those are breathtaking.
I don't think I've got it. I made a folder. I probably put everything in here except for a puffin. There's an oyster catcher.
Beautiful.
Again, a black and white bird. So, for example, Jetmar, if you were going to go and expose for that bird, that is just coming down to sunset, really. So the light's pretty soft. Where would you expose on that bird? You've got black versus white. It's a nightmare.
It's always very hard. This is a very hard thing. When it comes to white, it's very hard to deal with, to tell the truth. I have it a very hard time personally.
That's true. You're better exposing for your blacks. And obviously, if you've got your blinkies on inside camera,
Mm-hmm.
if it, you want detail in your black, you don't want to block the blacks. As soon as the blacks are blocked, you're not going to get any detail because it's too underexposed. So you're really, as I said, slightly overexposed. Now, when I bring this into Photoshop, that reading will be 240 on the histogram. Mm-hmm. That's as high as I'll go in a white, 240. You start to lose detail above 240. So we always check it when you're in Photoshop. Just check the measurement in the white. Try and get about 235, 237. So all you do is go to your highlights and reduce your highlights, which will bring more detail into the white, but you don't want to reduce them too much because they'll go grey. So if they're going to go grey because you've got to reduce them too much, start again and reduce the whole exposure on Photoshop. Just so you got a balance of blacks with detail, whites with detail.
One thing that I see is the way you act, the way you position the birds. Usually, it's either a little bit on the left or a little bit on the right. It's
yeah. What you want is you want room for the bird to fly into. Yeah. It all comes once you've done it 2 or 3 times. It all comes together. Yes. See this one here? I actually underexposed that by 1 full stop. And that was at ISO 3200. And that denoise, topaz, took all the noise off the photograph and left the detail in the bird and in the berries. Fantastic software.
This is a beautiful shot. I was never able to capture this bird.
It's actually a collection of them.
Maybe I got close. I never was able to.
Waxwings. They come from Scandinavia to Scotland every winter. They should be here next month. Should be, but sometimes they don't turn up. something else different. Again, there's black background. That was in a shadowed background. So I overexposed the whole image. Sorry, underexposed the whole image and just lifted the whites in Photoshop. So the whites around the side of the wing here will be about the 238 mark. And that's what the brightest white should be. And the rest in shadow. And I like the takeoff pattern as well. Aye.
I also want to introduce here my friend Ridvan Sokoli. We go out all the time, every Saturday usually. We went out today. Trying to find, yeah. Oh, I just want to say hi. Thank you for being here, Ridvan. Not sure he hears us, but anyway, just wanted to say hi. And we go out every weekend.
Fantastic.
It's always nice to have friends to go out and photograph.
So, do you just focus? Do you go local, Jetmar, or do you travel further?
Now, past few months, I've mostly photographed locally, but I've been in Kosovo. I also live in New York. I've been all over East Coast. I've been in Canada as well to photograph, and I've been in Bulgaria to photograph the Golden Eagle.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It was actually an amazing experience. I went with the guide.
Yeah, yeah.
In one of those mountains. It was very, What do you think about guides in wildlife photography?
I paid £130 to photograph these ospreys.
Okay, yeah, okay.
You know where I'm coming from. I think if you've got, I think you need to pay the money to get to the prize.
Yeah, and
if you don't know.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a great learning experience also when you meet guys that they know what they're doing. It's an amazing experience.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The fish was actually pulling the bird under the water here.
Yep.
It was a trout. It was too heavy for the bird. But eventually the bird got out of the water and took it away.
I saw your comment somewhere. You said that actually there was a huge fish underneath and came out with the fish. That was amazing. Yep. That was amazing. All right. Thank you so much, William, for being part of this. You started this, and we are hoping to do it with other folks as well. This was a great experience.
Hopefully we'll get more people the next time. I was expecting more people.
Yeah, I'm hoping so. And then the goal here also is just to give the option for people to join live. But the fact that we are doing a recording here, we'll take it, put it on YouTube, and share it with others. So I'm sure people will have comments and questions.
So
it will be very interactive later as we move forward. But thank you so much for being open for all of this. This is great. Thank you, folks, for being part of this. Again, this is our first interview. We hope we do it more and more.
Thank you for having us.
Bye. Bye.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.